All right. Welcome to the third episode of the COVID Chronicles, the Atlantic DF COVID Chronicles, sponsored on Cybrary, which is awesome. I always forget to do this until the end, but today is May 27th, 2020, just so we know where we are in the whole pandemic scheme when we're watching these 200 years from now. And I have with me for the all SOC episode, three excellent SOC managers, directors, whatever you want to call yourselves, from three different folks that we work with, and all of them excellent in their field, but they don't know each other, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm going to let them all introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Xavier.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Xavier Salinas. I run the threat operations at Blackpoint Cyber. So that includes our SOC, some like product management for our software product that actually catches hackers, and the SOC also all falls under me at Blackpoint Cyber, and we do a MDR service.
Nice. Rebecca, what about you?
Hey, I'm Rebecca Blair. So I'm the director of SOC operations at Ironnet. Basically, my team handles all of our security monitoring. We help out with some integrations, some compliance. Basically, anything that my VP and CISO and CIO say that we have to do, we handle.
Awesome.
That was a nice cover for the boss there.
I like that.
Yeah, that was solid. And Ernie, what about you?
So my name is Ernie Pritchard. I oversee the SOC and operations side of our security stuff at Encompass Health. So that includes the guys that manage the firewalls and the guys on the SOC team and everything like that.
All right. So we got ourselves an MSSP. Rebecca, what would you call Ironnet? You guys are kind of a multinational security organization thing, right?
Product-focused company, but we also have our internal security, and then we also kind of have our services with our hunt.
Right.
So we're just a hodgepodge group.
Right. And then Ernie, you guys are at what? Nearly 700 hospitals now?
No, we're not 700 hospitals. So we do some in-hab. Yeah, no. So we do inpatient rehab and home health. So we have 130 odd hospitals or facilities and many more branch offices and stuff like that for our home health operations.
Right. And then Xavier, you guys have got a pile of clients as your MSSP service, right?
Oh, yeah.
Lots and lots of endpoints.
We got all.
Yeah.
Lots, a lot, yeah,
right.
a whole lot of endpoints, more than I've ever thought I'd ever manage in my life. Yeah, and have more than Microsoft has. That's for sure. Probably a lot.
All right.
No,
so here we go. We're gonna go from right to left. Well, right to left for me. Who knows what you guys are scattered as? But we start with Xavier on this. So first question, real simple softball one here. How's the whole COVID-19 pandemic affected your industry, being kind of the MSSP thing, and then your company specifically?
The biggest thing I've noticed is when we're interacting with our partners, they're because we're providing service to many MSPs, they actually have a slower response time themselves, because a lot of the times they don't have people on site to pull that cable or turn off that firewall to make sure they can turn it back on. So we've seen a lot slower responses. Some of them have even changed their playbooks up to allow us to have more control over. Some of them didn't say that you guys cannot mess with our servers, but now they're like, please mess with our servers. We have no one on site that can actually go there and mess with our servers in a timely manner. So that's probably the biggest change I've seen, and it's happened a couple times to where they're like, we don't have anyone on site. We don't know when we can. What can you do to help us out here to further along an investigation or an actual response that we have to take. So
actual
that's been
procedural run book sort of change.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
And then just like you said, everyone's response plans now have to change to take into effect remote working. Before it's like, oh, just go to their desk, grab their laptop. Well, you can't really go to the desk and grab their laptop when everyone's remote. You have to provide shipping boxes. What do you do with this? When you get it now, who takes it into the office? People are going to have, forensics on their house now, or, a way to gather up information on an affected computer. So we've seen a lot of people having to change their response plans.
Right. Our response plan now includes hosing everybody's computer down that comes in with Lysol.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. They got to make sure you have that.
No chances. There's like packs of gloves in there and just Lysol. So if your stuff comes back smelling lemony fresh from us, that's why.
Just smear hand sanitizer on it.
Yeah, no, it's
like my phone. I just dip it in and pull it back out. Let it air dry. Don't do that.
Please don't take that advice.
Don't take that advice.
It was okay.
That's like I said. Yeah, said this cleans my phone.
Oh my goodness, Rebecca, what about you guys over there at Ironnet? What would you say is been the biggest change?
Yeah, I think for the most part, we're actually pretty fortunate that most of us worked at least a portion of the week from home already. So transitioning to a closed office wasn't very hard for us. One of the things I think, both with how we communicate within each other when we're investigating an incident or just we don't directly talk to customers, but we do talk to obviously different units. So that kind of became a change, a lot more through email, a lot more random Slack calls. Didn't really matter the day. I think kind of the days all just blended together. So it really had no idea or no concept of time when we were working. And kind of like you mentioned with Lysoling everybody as they came in, our new trivia gifts are now a roll of toilet paper.
Nice. Actually, I mean, I know some people would be damn happy to get that toilet paper thing. We actually started supplying out of the office stash here because folks were running low. So that and that's the one thing I haven't seen. I know about your area, but a lot of the supply chain stuff seems to have popped back. But man, paper products is it's still not there.
No, that and like cleaning stuff. Still haven't been able to find some of that.
Is crazy. Just in time, I guess, right? What about you, Ernie? What have you guys? Healthcare in general. It's become a huge target, but
I mean, there's when we talk about how it affects that. So I don't really do any of the operations part of it. So like, what actually happens to the hospitals and that sort of thing, I really don't have any insight to. From a security perspective, though, and an IT organization perspective as a whole, we didn't really have to change a whole lot as far as like how we do business and that sort of thing. There was obviously a migration to a remote workforce, or more of a migration to a remote workforce. And there's some social, you just kind of have to get used to that a little bit, right? I think, we've seen an increase in events and that sort of thing, coming from external adversaries and stuff like that. I mean, obviously they're kind of hopping on the bandwagon to take care of everybody's stress levels and that sort of thing. It hasn't really been anything that we haven't been able to cope with. Thankfully we didn't have to change our run books or onboard any new services or products or anything like that would have required us to kind of retool our operations and our procedures and that sort of thing. That would have been a nightmare. I feel for anybody whose business kind of, totally was flipped over and now everybody's in the cloud or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because the bad guys are taking advantage of all that stuff. So, I think that our response was adequate, and we really haven't had any problems that we couldn't solve or any challenges that really posed a real big problem.
A couple of the hospitals I was talking to that we've provide DFIR support for said that they were seeing like a 10-fold increase in the amount of external probing and bouncing on the outside of their network and stuff and systems. Is that mirror what you're seeing, or?
Yeah, so I mean that's I just kind of consider that the noise floor, so to speak. We have seen increased scans and that sort of thing. I think the more interesting threats would be, threat actors who have kind of who are moving to take advantage of, everybody's need to get PPE and, potential other problems that people might have. whether it's some kind of HR thing based on, maybe a riff or what have you. Those are the guys that are probably getting a little more traction out of all that stuff. And there has been some increases in that. Honestly, I kind of, in some regards, I thought it would be more, but it hasn't been anything that we haven't been able just to kind of plow through like we normally always do it.
I was just thinking, if I did a Walmart Charmin triple ply advertising fish, that could be the answer. That could be how I make my millions right there.
That's how you do it. Yeah.
That's
just send out that Angel Soft email campaign there for spam.
Exactly. None of that Scott's one ply stuff. I'm talking the good Charmin X.
You're talking about the good stuff. Get it at one ply prices, right?
Exactly.
You know,
Brian, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I had a story about the shift in remote works. Actually, we actually had a client who they had a laptop that they used on their on site for like looking at video cameras, and it was a shared laptop that people would get into, and it was fine because it was in the office and it wasn't really hooked up to the internet. Well, one of the guys decided to take it home, and everyone still needs access to this laptop, so they got dangerous on their own home network and figured out how to open up remote desktop into this device, which had was not supposed to be online, default credentials, and it took a day for someone to log into that. And it was kind of interesting. Like, we saw this weird device getting logged into, and we went back and looked at some of the data on it. You can see them trying to poke around the antivirus and trying to run stuff and trying to launch some things. And I was like, oh man, we contacted the client. They're like, oh yeah, that guy took it home and obviously wired it straight up to the internet. So I thought that was interesting. People are starting to get a little dangerous on their own, and someone else needs access to this.
You can't leave RDP exposed for any period.
Yeah, and it thought it'd be interesting that someone's scanning everything.
Yeah.
They found his house, on a scan, and it was probably admin to log in, and there he goes.
Yeah. If it's not somebody actively scanning, Shodan's going to hand it to him for you, and it's just you're not going to make it on that.
Yeah, and this was like day 2 of like the quarantine. I was like, wow, really, they must have really ramped up some external scanning,
Now
hitting the house.
So we saw a bit of a drop, kind of what was sort of end of March there. It's like there was a little period of time where we saw like a reduction in overall phishing. It was almost like they retooled, right? Like they just kind of like, oh, okay, we got to change up all our playbooks and patterns and stuff again. And then it just like surged forward. But there was like a good 2-week period there where it was a huge dip, just went to nothing. We all thought they went home and died or something, but
I was following some advanced campaigns like Emotet and all those ones, and I noticed that they had when the quarantine first started, there's a huge dip in samples found for these threat actors, and I was like, I guess they are other things to worry about right now also. Then it went right back up.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. The trends did dip down for a little bit.
Back hard right now.
Oh yeah, I've been following the NetWalker ransomware campaign pretty closely, and they have been ruthless. Like, 5, 6, 7 companies a weekend.
Just took a call for that right before this.
Did you? Yeah, they're ruthless right now. I've been really following them close.
Yeah, NetWalker out there just ripping people up.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so let me move on to my second question here. We'll never make it through all this stuff. Let's see. Okay, I like this one. It's not my favorite one, but it's my second favorite one. All right, so again, we'll start with Xavier on this one. But what was the most unexpected thing that happened because of the pandemic that you guys had to deal with? Like, just never saw that, right? It was like that truck out of the dark coming, and then like, how did you adjust and handle that thing? Share your experience with us on that.
Most unexpected. Well, I guess, I'll be transparent here. So when it was probably like late February, I told the whole SOC that, it's going to be working from home now. So everyone works from home. And, and so it was probably like first shift or second shift of everyone worked from home. I started getting, we have a whole escalation mode for our phone calls. And I kept getting calls, and I was like, "What the heck are these SOC guys doing?" I'm like 5th on the call list of someone, where someone calls into the SOC where it goes, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, they're not in the SOC. they don't have their the phones right next to them right now." So I was like, "Oh no, now we gotta get everyone with these remote phones." So I just totally blew over my head, that someone's gonna have to answer the phone when someone calls the SOC. That I quickly scramble and had my SOC manager equip everybody with soft phones so they can answer those. Another one was we're a software company actually at heart. We make all our own software. We didn't really have a good way to share our repositories for our remote developers. Everyone started working from home. They're like, "Wait, how do I commit this code I just made?" Everyone's like, "Oh." So it's like, "Oh, hey, gotta get them access." Everyone gotta get all the developers. And the last thing I want to do is give a developer VPN access. Sorry, other developers out there. But so yeah, scramble and make some policies on them. So those are two things that kind of just blew over our head really quick. We're like, oh, it's just such a drastic, hard cut over to everyone remote now. Those are probably the two ones.
Right, there's no transition, right? It wasn't like a few people and then a few more. It was just everybody out of the building.
Right. We were quite prepared because we have a lot of remote sales and we have remote offices around the world. So we had good infrastructure there, but just some of the generic office operations just didn't dawn on us right then and there. But outside of that, we really haven't had many other unexpected things happen. Everyone seems to be working great from home. Time to ticket times have been exactly the same as in the office. Maybe even better since some of the employees don't have to drive and they're happier. So.
Right. Rebecca, what about you? What Ironnet experience? You just didn't see it coming. Now, I know that you guys are one of my only clients ever that had a TTX that was actually pandemic-based. And that was almost 2 years ago.
I know, yeah.
I've been telling everybody that. I was like, it's crazy. They actually did this.
Yeah, I was talking to the person who, on our side who works on the TTXs, and I told them they have to stop doing them because a couple of them have come true now. And so it's great that we've practiced for it, but just stop.
Right, yeah.
That is funny.
No, so we're actually pretty fortunate. I can't really think of anything too unexpected other than like the basic, permissions issues and things like that. We've had to change a lot of things operations-wise, though, that I think were expected. We were hoping to never have to. Especially with the increase of VPN. So we've, as a company, we've upgraded our VPN link to make it a little bit more faster. The one thing that I think is my favorite that we've implemented is a bot called Judge Dread. So when people aren't logged on to the VPN within an appropriate amount of time, or when they try to install unauthorized browser plugins, you get a Slack bot that comes out that is Judge Dread and tells you, to remove it and takes you through the steps and alerts us as well.
Right out.
But it absolutely does, and it's been hilarious just to see, who it catches. The people are like, come on. So that's been my favorite, and I think it's like a little bingo board now of, who does it catch today.
I used to do something similar like that in a past company. We used to have people that like to log in from home. They like their Linux computers and stuff to the VPN. I used to do the same. Similar action with them. Blew them off, sent them an email.
So yeah, my favorite was the first day it went out. It obviously caught a lot of people, and the amount of people that were like, "I think this is phishing. I don't think this is legitimate." We're like, "No, you should just do what you're supposed to. You're good.
Do what the judge says."
Exactly.
Right.
Now, this is the good Keith Urban Judge Dredd, not the bad Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
I can't support that Sylvester Stallone one. All right. That's a good one. So that brings up Slack, too. So everybody use Slack?
We use Teams, actually.
Oh.
I know, man. All in. We went all in with the pocket chips and the Microsoft stuff.
Oh, God. What about you, Ernie? Are you Slack?
No, we don't. So we're not really in the cloud, so to speak, so much. I mean, some of the stuff that we do internally or with vendors and that sort of thing is Slack based, but we're not doing that. Any Slack.
They're pod based, right? Play no telephone.
Yeah. That's I live and die on Slack. Actually, one of the things we did was actually invited some of our key clients into our Slack channels and stuff like that, just so it's easier to get in touch with them. Or
yeah, I think that's cool.
For them to get in touch with us. I mean, just you're right there. Boom, we know who you are.
Yeah.
All right, Ern. So what was the black bus that came out of the dark and got you?
Well, I mean, I certainly wasn't expecting this, right?
Wait, it wasn't in your TTX?
Yeah.
I was about to say,
well, I think that we've, that there were always like some kind of disaster or something like that. But I mean, for it actually to happen, and I guess, so, we had to ramp up some capacity stuff and that sort of thing, but we really didn't change a whole lot other than that. I think most of the guys on my team have really kind of adapted to it and that sort of thing. And we've got a pretty good culture. I mean, no one really gets excited if, somebody's kid's screaming in the background as an IT organization as a whole and that sort of thing. I think that depending on your environment, stress there could just from not being able to isolate yourself from your family and stuff like that, could really kind of be overwhelming and that sort of thing, but it hadn't really got us so much. I think one of the unexpected things that happened to me really is that like when we look at security threats that face us and that sort of thing, a lot of times it's more internal or introspective, like how do I combat this? Are our controls effective across these different areas and that sort of thing. But I really wasn't planning on like having everybody's workforce, that supports the company and businesses that we work with and stuff like that to get pushed into this remote model to where they're struggling to adapt to the changes and that sort of thing, right? So like the recent ransomware incident with Cognizant, like I'm really sensitive right now to supply chain problems and that sort of thing, because everybody's workforce has kind of been, kicked out of their normal environment, and they're more susceptible to, the social engineering that all these bad guys are up to. And I think based on some of the, if you follow your threat feeds and the news, I mean, obviously the guys, there may have been a slight lull in the beginning, but they're definitely ramping it back up. Yeah. So, we're, I'm looking for ways to stay ahead of that, to get additional visibility into, what these guys look like as they come in and help us, and as we're dealing with them through email correspondence and who knows what else, right? Mm-hmm. Just to kind of get ahead of that a little bit. The other stuff that like I wasn't really ready for is like, so I got a new monitor and I needed to get an external webcam just for this thing. So where can you find one? I mean, there's just nothing.
I ran into the same issue.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just kind of, it's just kind of nuts. But I don't think that that's really impacted us.
I ransacked our server just to find one.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there's at a certain level of employee or mid-management above, you probably have a decent place to work at home, things like that. For everybody else, they're not necessarily set up for that, and so you send them home remote, they don't have bandwidth, they're sharing a place with 3 other people, and so that, nobody, they have to switch off who gets the kitchen table for conference calls and stuff like that, all the way down to, I had a guy here the other day come in and he's like, look, my wife took over the actual office at the house. He's like, I've been sitting on this stool for 3 weeks. Can I take my office chair home with me? He's like, it's just killing me. And I never even occurred to me that, it's like, yeah, take it all.
I told my guys just to ransack our office.
You sat on a stool for 3 weeks? That's ridiculous,
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I told my guys just to ransack the office, grab whatever, take a picture of it, send it to the HR guy. Send it to the HR guy.
Yeah, we did a ticket system. Yeah. So everybody was taking their monitors, chairs. I think I have some whiteboard markers here. Literally anything.
Yeah, I don't have a printer at home, so I had to print something. So I went to the office like last week just to get some printed, and it literally looked like a scene out of The Walking Dead. There's just wires hanging everywhere. It was looted. Everyone just grabbed stuff without abandoned. They're like, yep, we'll use that. There's chair drag marks going out the door.
Everything's coated in dust.
Yeah, everything's coated in dust. I was like, yeah, literally looks like we just picked up and left, and I guess that's what we do.
No, but that's really an aspect of this is not everybody was necessarily set up with space or anything at home. You're just like, go remote. Good luck.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hope you have a good enough laptop.
Yeah. That was another one. I don't know if y'all experienced this, but I didn't think about a non-laptop sort of environment, but a lot of our larger clients, that's not how they're set up, right? A vast majority of their users have, some little small Dell, Optiplex or Lenovo, one of these little mini ITX sort of boxes sitting on their desk and a monitor. And, so you send them home and they're going to do what? And even worse, I heard ones that were boxing up like computers and sending them home with people. And then, of course, a day later, the help desk is at 100% capacity because people are like, I don't know, I have a green cable and a blue cable. Which one are you talking about?
Or they call back, the website is down.
Stuff like this. Yeah. So some oddness there. All right.
That thought never crossed my mind of not having a working laptop or being in a desktop environment. So my mind's blown right now.
Yeah, that would be that would be a drag, no doubt.
Right. For most of us, it was easy. For a lot of companies, it wasn't. That and I think you touched on this before, Rebecca, was the VPN capacity thing.
Yep.
So we heard that from a lot of clients that hey, we never factored, 20% of our workforce on the VPN was kind of where we were at, not 90% of our workforce on the VPN. And talked to some clients, just had to tell people like, look, if you are not these people, just don't get on. We're still paying you. We'll call you if we need something, but don't get on the VPN. It just, things like that. That, and having to ban things like people tunneling their Netflix through the VPN and other stuff like that. Was just causing all kinds of damage. All right, so coming back around to my questions here. All right. So this is a slightly weird one. Still not my favorite one, but it's close. So Javier, what advantages have you discovered from the mandatory quarantine? Where did you learn that was unexpected, and it's like, this is a way better thing now that we've done this?
I noticed too, probably everyone else too, running a 24/7 operation. A lot of the analysts never really talk to each other. They got night shift, you got day shifts, and they don't really commingle too much. So I've seen that, now we've really driven everyone towards, chatting and video chatting. It's been the main way I've communicated with them and everyone else, and the way my manager communicates with them. And I noticed our main SOC chats where we kind of just talk freely has been way more active. So I feel like, the culture's kind of changes where they're all talking to each other a little bit more, and then they're like, oh, everyone responds over this chat really well. They can start asking more questions, and I noticed, since they're kind of forced to be the communication tool, that they've had a better communication with each other.
So is there a downside to that? Because I've also heard people getting just burned out because every day is the same day, and people just approach you on Saturday and you're like, well, whatever, it's just going to be here anyway, so I'll work Saturday, and then they contact you on Sunday, and and on and on and on. So you're just on this endless week. Right.
I would say there could be a downside now that everyone's like, oh, I can get to this person at any time. Things, but I don't think I'm talking more commingling between the SOC analysts.
Right. Better internal communication.
Yeah, I've seen them actually talking a lot more. Because in our SOC shifts, we keep it pretty static. No one really shifts around too much. We have this is pretty much their shift, and it's always going to be their shift. Unless they want to change otherwise. So it's nice to see them talking a little bit more, and, or even communicate with me a little bit more. Sometimes they'll message me. They see me on at night, and they'll be like, "Hey, I think I saw something weird. Can you double check this for me?"
Right.
Otherwise, I have to go through the escalations. And if it's something really minor, sometimes they might not feel like it's escalation where they just close it. So I'm glad that the communication's been a lot more open.
All right, Becca, what about you? Any big advantages popped up?
what Javier said. So I think our Slacks in general actually have gone down a little bit. However, we stood up a Discord channel. So it's almost like the site could still hang out throughout the day. So we've just been communicating in just different methods a lot more. I'd say the biggest advantage would be just the flexibility. I mean, especially, in the DMZ area, just not having that commute is pretty sweet to get a couple hours back. And we've seen a lot of people just taking breaks throughout the day, whether it's to have lunch with their family or work out or taking more mental health breaks. And I think that's been great to really implement. So just try to figure out that flexibility. I know at least one thing with our team, we had some really big initiatives that were going on during quarantine. So we definitely had to deal with some burnout. So, just one of those things of noticing, all right, well, if I have these two analysts on my team that have kind of withdrawn, so I've just put them on PTO for a couple of days and talk to them to recharge and kind of get back to a normal state.
That's a good point about being with family more. I have a 1-year-old son at home. I've spent an immense amount of time with him, more than I ever have, before. Because now I'm always here, which it's actually been really nice, to see him, every hour almost. And communicate with him rather than being away for 8 hours, come home, and that's almost bedtime.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have kids, but I'm extremely obsessed with my 2-year-old lab. So I do definitely take breaks to go throw the ball in the yard. So.
Yeah. The dogs are winning here. The dogs are just.
The dogs are winning, man. That's a good call. Man. I have a bulldog, so she just sleeps. Whether I'm here or not, she sleeps.
What about you, Ernie? Big advantage you guys picked up on during this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I've enjoyed my little 2-month into remote work and that sort of thing. It took some getting used to. I mean, not having to commute. I mean, I get about an hour and a half to 2 hours back every day. I'd probably turn that into more work time, though, to be quite honest with you. And I think that, for the most part, a lot of the guys on my team have reflected that, where, they like having the flexibility to be at home, and they're able to cope with, the stressors and stuff like that brings along. But yeah, to your point, like the family thing, it'd be one thing to work from home for 2 months and not have anybody here, but it's a totally different thing when there's 5 people in the house all jammed together, driving everybody crazy and stuff like that, right? So it's just, that's been a lot of fun, to be quite honest with you. I think that, like, my kids are so sick of eating hamburgers off the grill, because I'm like, whoa, I can go outside and cook a hamburger.
Yeah,
they're just so tired of that, outside of the personal stuff, I think, I think what's kind of nice, or what's really kind of nice and cool is it just kind of seems like everybody's just really kind of pulling together on this thing, right? So, and I really feel for the sales guys and stuff like that. I mean, can you imagine being in a sales role and having to call on people and stuff?
Sales courses were the first ones to get fired at most places I was.
Yeah,
that's true too. Yeah.
But I mean, everybody's just really kind of respectful of the situation and everything like that. And there's it feels like there's a little more personal interaction, even when you're dealing with people outside of the company and stuff like that. And then, there's really been some remarkable information sharing that typically would be intellectual property for companies, where they're releasing threat intelligence and stuff like that based on COVID-related threats and stuff like that to the public. So like Microsoft started doing that, and there's some other guys that have kind of opened their stuff up a little bit, or offered even free services to people that are trying to cope with, all the change.
Right. Microsoft,
I think that's been really cool.
All their COVID phishing, they dumped it all out on GitHub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Sentinel stuff and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So that's that's been good, right? So that's, I mean, if there's an advantage to it, I think that, it's just everybody kind of coming together and helping everybody out. Nice. And then, just being able to get thrown together with the family and everything like that.
That's why I go to the office every day, so I don't have to deal with any of them, and there's nobody else here. So
it is your office, right?
I've got a 3,600 square feet office here, and, 3 bathrooms, and a kitchen. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's not like that here. Like I'll have, people running around behind me or the cat tearing me up or, whatever. It's always something going on.
All the bandwidth that I can want. The only downside is the phone. I still got to answer the phone.
Yeah, that happens. As we found out.
Which I have a newfound appreciation for my receptionist because, my God, the number of calls that she must handle in a day, it's ridiculous. But I'm sitting here, I can't let it ring. So anyway. All right. So final question, and this is my favorite. Going back to Xavier, what does the future look like for your industry, your company specifically? I mean, how long does this thing go on? What does it mean to you guys?
Right. So, here at Blackpoint Cyber, we're just continuing to evolve with the threat landscape pretty much, as the risk has changed, for my partners, and it's even changed some of the way we do stuff. Like, I've been writing rules more based on, cases that could happen at people at home, with phishing documents or, someone getting in and rooting around maybe from the home into their devices. So even, kind of writing a little bit more different rule sets based on that. So, just going to continue to advance and move on. Luckily our developers work remote, it's all fine. We're kind of lean. We see no productivity lost at all. Probably, if anything, it'd be an increase from a lot of our, software development. So, we've been keeping down the path. The future looks great. I think even more after this I think there's going to be a big shift into a lot more acceptable remote work here. We kind of proven, to the company, and all the employees have proven to us that this is completely doable. And, it'd be nice to give the option to everyone, if they like to, continue doing this, or maybe split things up. Like, if they want to come in just for the environment, to maybe do a little, a couple in the 3 in the office, 2 at home, 2 in the office, 3 at home. You really open them up.
All that remote work really justifies that MDR solution, right?
Yeah.
All your people are remote. What's wrong with us being remote, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. They're all remote. So, so I think the future's bright, and I think for the industry, we service a lot of MSP partners. Just continuing and helping them understand, different new risks that their clients are going to be coming across. I talked to our sales VP this morning, and I asked him, I was like, "Are you getting any different questions? Is anyone asking you things like, how would this, would your service help us with a remote workforce and stuff?" He says he doesn't get too many questions like that. I don't know if it's because they're not educated or they just don't think to ask it. He said most people just share stories about COVID with them. So going back to Ernie's point, everyone's coming together. Like the salespeople are just getting sharing some stories together about the whole pandemic.
Now, have you had clients push endpoint packages to home users' computers and things like this?
I would say yes, probably. I don't know for sure, but I would imagine. I see. It'd be a good stat. We do. Our product does network mapping. It'd be interesting to see how many new network maps have been created compared to before. Because then it would be someone's home network that's been mapped out. And, that'd be kind of an interesting thing. If I only knew before this, I would have a cool PowerPoint slide for you guys.
Yeah. No, I mean, I talked to several clients who that had been their solution, especially when they realized they didn't have enough equipment to go around. Is they just started pushing their endpoint security stack to the home users. Stuff like that. Just going, look, we can't really let you on the corporate network unless we know what's out there. And
right. No, that's smart. I would do that in my case. Luckily, everyone, but our company's using their corporate stuff because it's probably a better machine than they have at home. That's the way you do it. You make sure that the machine you give them is better than the one they have at home. I don't guarantee you use that one. But yeah, we see. What was I going to say? I don't remember. I'll remember it. I'll let someone else talk.
All right. Pritchard listens to you anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Rebecca, so again, the question's what's the future look like for the industry? Feeling you're all kind of different industries, but and then Ironnet specifically.
Yeah, so I'll just start with Ironnet specifically because it's easier. So we are moving primarily just remote moving forward. And so I think this is nothing giving us a really good test run of how it's going to look and how the future is going to look. Even a lot of organizations that I have talked to, even when they're allowing people to come back in the office, it's a very tiered system. So, one person per office. And so you're going to have offices at a capacity of 30% filled. So realistically, I don't think anybody's going back to full-time in office anytime soon. And I actually really encourage, again, the flexibility of remote work. With Ironnet as a company, not just our SOC, I'm actually very optimistic about the future with us. I think with having everybody being remote, it's putting cybersecurity and threat sharing a little bit more in the forefront. So it's something that I'm really interested with Iron Defense because our whole purpose is the idea of threat sharing to, for correlation within our Iron Dome. So I'm definitely optimistic about using some of the use cases that we've had throughout this period to build out into our industry and just to see how many tools are kind of built from this time period moving forward in general.
Yeah. I wonder if that's some of what you were saying, Ernie, there, just people willing to cooperate a bit more. Some of the threat groups, cooperating that normally wouldn't have worked together, things like that. You could be right. I mean, it could really spur that kind of, hacking is bad in any form, and we're all better if we're protected from it, sort of thing.
Right. It'll either do that, or as soon as we get back in, we'll forget about everybody else again. So
that is pretty much what we do. I focus on me.
Yeah.
But, all right, Ernie, what about you? Because you're square and center of healthcare there. What's
Yeah, I mean, so like the future for the industry and companies like this far above my pay grade.
I heard it was like three.
Yeah, no.
You're on the fast track.
So I don't know. Healthcare. I don't know that I really have any insight into that sort of thing. I mean, I'm not really overly worried about the future, so to speak. But some of the points you guys were making about, like remote work and how you guys are moving to a more remote workforce and that sort of thing. I think that, as like a hiring manager and stuff like that, everybody's now going to get to deal with that, so to speak, where either you're totally, if you're all on board with the remote work and that sort of thing, you're going to have a much larger pool probably of candidates. And then if you're going to be an on-prem only kind of thing, well, chances are now you're going to get to compete with everybody else, regardless of where they're at, right? So I think it's from a human resource perspective and stuff like that, it's really kind of flattened. We'll see what happens with it, right? Because it could be that, for the most part, I think everybody on the calls hasn't been really, negatively affected by their workforce, being able to execute their mission and stuff like that. But, it could be that everything just fell apart for somebody else. They're like, well, no, we're never going to do this remote thing again. Well, guess what? Your talent pool is going to be greatly reduced because other people that are in your geographical area and stuff like that now are going to get to look at jobs that say remote all the time available, and that sort of thing. So, for me, I don't know that's a problem or anything like that really, but I just think that, how we do things, not just information security, but as a whole, are going to look a little bit different when it comes to that perspective. And then the other thing is, I don't know that, like, I think everybody's trying to gear up and get back into how things normally were, but like, I'm not sure what's going to happen this fall, right? I mean, so, a lot of people have family and kids that they have to take care of, and, there's no such thing as daycare when all this stuff's going on, and homeschooling and stuff like that. I think that, there's no telling what will happen with all that. But, my reflection on that is that, our management and that sort of thing is doing the right thing, and they're going to take care of everybody that's working for them and that sort of thing. And I think that our response to that is, so far, has been great. And we'll continue to do that to support everybody that works for us and everything like that. So
I think it's probably definitely changed that upper management view that, you know, people working from home are screwing off, right? So yeah, everybody's doing it now. All right, I have a secret fifth question that I didn't tell you guys about. I hide this one. It wouldn't be any fun if I did it straight up. So how long is it before you feel comfortable again being in a room of 50 people?
That's a good question.
I throw this out there every week, and I get exactly the same response from all the faces. Everybody goes, 50, you say. Do I know them?
Right. How big is the room? Can we appropriately social distance within that room?
I'll do it for $100.
Javier's sold out cheap.
Yeah, sold out cheap. Yeah. Will it get me a sale?
right, yeah. Is there candy?
Yes, candy. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, especially a lot of these conventions being postponed. I heard one's going to try to do. I can't remember which one it was. Going to try to actually do it's on track. I think it's for October. Still on track to do an in-person. So I was like, good luck.
I question what's going to happen in the next 10 days after the Memorial Day weekend and some of the various beach and boardwalk scenes that I saw. I feel like we're going to have a bit of a spike here that's not great for everybody. Although there's whole rural areas of the country that are practically 100% unaffected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like North Pennsylvania, parts of West Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. Where they're like, COVID, what? Like,
no one comes here. Yeah, you know? No one comes here. No one leaves here. They've been quarantined for life.
Yeah, exactly.
No change.
You know, which I think contributes to some people's frustration, right? Is if there's no cases and there's not expected to be any case, why should we be doing any of this silliness, or at least what seems silly to them? All righty. So anybody want to give me a hard, fast date when they're good with that 50 room people?
No way.
I'd probably be okay with it by the end of the year.
End of the year.
Yeah, I'll pick something. I'll pick November 27th.
November 27th. Okay.
Everyone can mark your calendars. Hold me to it, and then get 49 people for me.
49 of the Walking Dead. Just throw them in.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
I was hoping to be in a big group this summer, but especially if we don't know, if a second wave is actually going to happen or not. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing with everything with COVID is there's still so many unknowns or things that we think we know. Turns out that it isn't that case. So.
Last week, CDC puts out something, and it's doesn't live on surfaces. This morning I see it lives on surfaces again. I'm like, what did I touch? What did I touch?
Right. It's like those studies they always do. Like, coffee's good for you. Coffee's bad for you. Coffee's good for you.
It's all a bit up in the air. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you agreeing to do this with me. It's this sort of silliness. It's been a lot of fun. I may call on you again in the future for various mixes and matches with other groups of people. But thanks so much for being here. There are no home editions or episodes or gifts that I will send you, so don't look for anything in the mail. And what else do we got going on? Next week, episode 4. I don't even know. It's all the same days to me now. We are doing. Next week is the Wild Bunch. All right. I'm not going to tell you who it is. This group. I'm not even going to get to ask questions next week. It's just going to be Brian comes on, and then these guys just start arguing. So, all right. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, Brian.
It
was good meeting you all.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you.